Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, I'm taking a little scenic free flight over the channel in VR at the moment. I'm in the P-47D. Still having kind of a hard time getting accustomed to this plane. Um, I did the beachhead mission the other day and I thought I was pretty good with it. And I keep trying one of those furball missions and I just end up sucking in this plane when it comes to dogfighting. And I mean, I'm not the best dogfighter as it is, we all know that, but I fare pretty good in a Mustang or in a Spitfire. But in this thing, man, it's being a challenge for me for sure. There's the Cliffs of Dover, which look rather nice. It's really frustrating because this is a beautiful plane. It's probably the most beautiful plane they've ever created. That's a Warbird in DCS thus far. Man, this thing is stuttering. And the detail levels aren't even that high. That's the thing that's very frustrating about this. I think the other thing is as well that, this really is the most detailed map they've ever created in DCS yet. So it's going to take its toll. It's going to take some horsepower to push all this. It really is. And VR is not in the best shape right now in DCS. But I still enjoy giving it a shot and flying over some of these scenic areas, even though if it wants to chug me a little bit. Really looking forward to trying out a Reverb 2 when they come out. I'm hoping that makes technically, higher resolution displays should look better. And my understanding is it renders things a little differently than the Rift S. And that may be what I'm experiencing in DCS with the Rift S. Yeah, micro stutters suck. This is definitely a very, very cool map to fly over, especially low. There's a lot of stuff to see. Lots of really nice detail. It's just too bad that I got to turn everything down low, because if I turn everything up, it's going to look a lot nicer. But it's also going to become a slideshow at that point, and then what's the point? There was a nice big pause again. And my system specs are an i9 9900K with a 2080 Super GPU, 32 gigabytes of PC3000 DDR4 memory, and this is all running off of a 1 terabyte Western Digital SSD. Of course, a Z390 motherboard to properly support the memory and the processor. They just need a few passes of optimization on the channel map for sure. And I'm hoping the upcoming update may include something for that, because the open beta has went to the new schedule where they're not going to release a version every week, which I think is smart, but it's also going to drop a ton of fixes and improvements into single updates. And I'm hoping that doesn't become a mess in itself. But it does give them longer time to test these updates, which is what they said they're doing, and which is what they said is the reasoning behind this, because everybody lost their minds when they came out with a few updates that broke a lot of important stuff over the last few open beta updates that they had put out. This coastline is really fun to fly over. But I'm hoping one of the future updates have some kind of optimization for this new channel map. That would be nice. Because even in 2D, it really chews up some performance. Just not too hopeful that we're going to see any VR optimizations anytime soon. I try to be, but It's another one of our planes zipping about. Looks like they're having fun on their free flight too. It's almost like at this point, I jump into DCS Warbirds when I want to take a scenic flight. I almost treat it like Microsoft Flight Simulator anymore, you know? The frame rates in VR is just so abysmal that, you know, I jump over to IL2 when I want to have fun. And then I use DCS when I want my modern jets. And I'll play those anymore on my 49-inch super ultra wide monitor and Track IR, because it looks fantastic and it's super fun that way. But if I want to do VR flight simming, I definitely go over to IL2 anymore. They've really come around and managed to make everything accessible and smooth, to be honest. This almost gives me a headache, man. These stutters and just what I'm experiencing right here is just insane. And it kills the immersion factor. It really does. And just to be transparent, here are the settings that I'm using. Like, everything is really turned down and everything is really turned off here. And just moving my head around, it's like stuttering, almost giving me a headache right now. But I know people want to see VR stuff, so I'm doing my best to provide something. But it's becoming very challenging at this point. But the channel map is really cool to explore. It's definitely fun to check out. I'm going to have to maybe bump down from medium to low textures, and then that might smooth things out a little bit more. But, you know, I want to see the details, you know? I mean, just look at all these towns, man. They're just so detailed. This is by far the nicest looking map they've ever created in DCS. There's just so much down there. But look at the stutters. It's just killing me. I don't know how anybody else is doing this in VR right now. And claiming they're getting, you know, a solid 40, 45 FPS. Again, unless there's an issue with the Rift S that I'm missing, you know, and that's what makes the reverb so much better, is it handles and renders things differently. I don't really know. I've heard people say something about that, or how the asynchronous warp works in with the Oculus stuff. And I have that set on auto right now. I've had it turned off for the longest time, and I really didn't see a difference. So I figured, well, screw it, let's try auto. Maybe that'll, you know, do something and make it any better. But I'm getting the same result across the board. So it is what it is at this point. I just try to tolerate it. So I'm going to jump out of here before I get a headache. And just wanted to show you guys the channel map in VR. What potential it has for VR, let's put it that way. Because this probably isn't the best example of the VR experience, but I'm also being honest about where we sit with VR right now in DCS world. And maybe as more of us, you know, talk about it and put the issue out in the forefront, maybe they'll pay attention and they'll do something about this. One can only hope, because it really is super cool and the depth perception is absolutely amazing. And just being able to turn your head around and look around in the cockpit like this as smoothly as I can and naturally is really awesome. I just wished it looked better and it ran better, because this is definitely a high-end system and everything else runs fantastic on it. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Feel free to hit that like button. And until next time, guys.